Episode 1. The first thing that you're going to do when you start to tie a fly is you got to pick a hook. So, we wanted to start off with telling you the differences between dry fly, nymph, and streamer hooks. Using the right hook for the job is extremely important, as we want to make sure that we've got the right hook with the right gap length and the right shank length to be able to tie the fly that we want to tie. So, we've already got a dry fly hook in the vise. So you will notice that this one has a little thinner gauge, probably the thinnest gauge wire that you would see in a hook. It would be a dry fly hook. This one is a hook point down. Makes it a little easier if you're doing like some foam or some deer hair at the very end to be able to get your tippet to go through the eye of the hook. I like this hook because even though it is a dry fly hook, it has a slightly larger gap than what you might see on other hooks. But most dry fly hooks are going to have a shorter shank with a slightly shorter gap as well. That's going to mean that it's going to float a little higher. It's not going to weigh as much so that it doesn't weigh the fly down, especially a small hook like this. And most of the dry flies that you're tying don't have very long bodies. So this would be a great hook to tie an elk hair caddis or a small stimulator or any kind of small dry fly that you're working on. Next we can have a nymph hook. You'll notice this one's going to have a little heavier wire. Generally, that's going to help it sink a little bit more than the dry fly hook, which is really weight conscious. So this would be a great hook to be able to tie a pheasant tail, a hare's ear, one of those really popular nymphs that you want to tie. And it's got plenty of room on here for a bead head. Generally, the nymph hooks are going to have a slightly longer shank than a dry fly hook will, so that you can be able to tie in a little more weight or one of those bead heads. Next, we have a streamer hook. This is one of my favorite streamer hooks. You'll see it's got a much larger gap and it's a heavier gauge hook. This is still a thinner hook. It's not a saltwater hook. This would be a great hook to use for trout. I like this one has a straight eye. You can still find some with a down bent front eye, but you'll see the shank is a little longer, again allowing you to either tie an extended body for a bait fish or be able to add a cone or a bead on the front of this for one of those bead head woolly boogers that you're tying. Or if you imagine you could flip that upside down, you could tie a clouser. Gives you plenty of room to be able to tie in those dumbbell eyes here and still have that room to kind of finish off the head and get a cool clouser minnow coming backwards. So, a little bit about hooks, a little bit some of the differences between different styles of hooks. Hope you enjoyed that one. On to the next episode. They have a little thinner diameter barrels. Some are a little larger and have a larger diameter barrels. Smaller ones are going to be a little, lick my fingers and kind of make sure that thread is pretty straight and suck the thread through. So to start the thread, we want to start at the front and work backwards. As we're going to tie, if you use your hand to grip the bobbin,